You okay back here, Linda? Sally? We're going to open our meeting with a prayer, please.
Father God, we come to you with gratitude and thanksgiving. We continuously praise and glorify your name for all the gifts you have showered upon us. You have loved us unconditionally, even on the days we do not acknowledge your presence. Loving and gracious God, you are indeed the giver of all good, and we thank you today for all your blessings, for the successful outcomes of our events, and for all our members. We ask your help in reaching the goals that we have set for our group, and your strength to make them successful. We have a dedicated patriot, Joyce Dietrich, that is recovering but not quite well enough to come to our meetings. Please lay your hands on her and make her well again. We also have another patriot, Betty Stitzler, that has gone through some medical issues. Lay your hand on her as well. I am sure there are other and more that need your healing. Touch them also. And of course, protect those that protect us, our police, our first responders, our firefighters, and all members of the military. In your name we ask, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sally. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll get started with our main program after we do some BCP business. We're looking for some additional locations to put up 4x8 and 3x5 signs to promote the Berks County Patriots. Thanks to some of you out there, we have 5 locations in Berks now, and tonight 2 other people approached us, so we'll have 2 more. So if you know of any other locations, please see one of us. Now, we're trying to promote our name recognition and increase our influence. So you may not be able to put up the big signs that we talked about, but Tom, Ed, who's back there? Dennis, hold up the sign. However, you all should be able to put up a campaign sign, a regular size, 24 by 18. See them back there? We would love to have several hundred of these throughout the county. We bought 100 of them for tonight, paid $6 a piece for them. We're not going to charge you $6. We're only looking for a donation. The most important thing is that those 100 leave here tonight and they get out to Berks County. So whatever you want to donate, it's fine. We don't care if we take a loss. The most important thing, as I said, is get them out there. We have a 50-50 raffle, as you know. We will do that at the end of the meeting. We also have a gun raffle. Now, we sold all the tickets for our last gun raffle, that's the AR-15. So we're going to actually do that drawing maybe halfway through the program. Joe, I didn't tell you, but we're going to do the AR-15 about halfway through the program, okay? We did start another gun raffle. That is a Smith & Wesson Shield, M&P, 9mm, and 500 rounds of ammo. Folks, that is a nice little weapon. Matter of fact, I carry that almost every day. So consider helping us out with that. Now, we do these raffles to help offset some of our expenses. Our only income is what happens at these meetings and some donation. So whatever you can do to help us, that would be great. Also, we have BCP t-shirts. Normally they're $15, but we don't have all the sizes. So we are closing them out at $5. Some of them are rather small. You might consider, your grandkids and your kids as well. So give that some thought if you want to help us out with that. few comments regarding our last year's December meeting, which was honoring the vets. And the folks in the back, please be quiet. Thank you. Honoring the vets and our Christmas party. Thanks to your donations, we had several hundred gift-wrapped presents, non-perishable foods, clothing, and monetary gifts. So give yourself a big hand. Come on, folks. Give it up. Now, every year we decide what veterans group we're going to donate to. And last year it was Veterans Making a Difference, which was founded and run by Liz and Doug Graybill. I'd like to tell you a little bit about them. About 7 or 8 years ago, Linda and I would take donations to their front porch in West Lawn. Is Doug and Liz here, by the way? Where? Where? Okay, good. I gotcha. Okay. To their front porch in West Lawn. Mainly around the holidays. It could be canned hams, clothing, whatever, we thought was appropriate. Many times, we couldn't even find a place to put the donations on our porch. And I know there were times where they couldn't get in their house. And I know also there were times where they had to take the stuff on the front porch and put it in their living room. They did fantastic. And Doug would then take the donations to the veterans. Many of them homeless vets. He knew where to find them. Under bridges, in the woods, cardboard tents, wherever. He got the stuff to them. Doug told me that there was one vet, for the most part, would only eat the food that Doug gave to him. For a few years, in December, they actually had a gathering in City Park, where they would feed the vets and give whatever donations they had. They didn't allow the cold or snow to stop them. I know there were times where you had to have a couple sets of long johns on. It was very, very cold. Remember those days, guys? Well, thanks to your generosity and many, many others like you, that situation has changed. They now have an indoor location that the vets can go part-time. It's at 645 North 6th Street. That's at 6th and Greenwood Street. That's fantastic. Now, Liz was kind enough to invite Linda and I for a tour in December. It was great. They have a very nice kitchen, serving area, eating, dining area, social area, and in place of their front porch, they have a beautiful, large pantry. That's fantastic. Now, I'm going to read something that was on the internet. If it's on the internet, hey, it's free game, right? Well, this is something that Liz put out last December. Veterans Making a Difference. Another normal day for veterans making a difference. Liz and Doug Graybill. At 7:15 a.m., Doug picked up a veteran that needed to go to the Reading Burke's VA outpatient clinic. I went to work. Doug dropped off the veteran at his home and then proceeded to Robizonia to pick up food from a pantry for our pantry. I left work. Then he helped Doug. He went to Bosco's and picked up a bunch of clothes and toys. I went to the bank to make a deposit. We received lots of donated coats from Sinking Spring VFW Auxiliary. Then we went to the United Real Estate to pick up socks that they had collected for us. Then we went to City Lights Ministry to pick up donations for veterans. Went to the Paul R. Gordon Veteran Social Center to unload some stuff. Went to Red Cross to pick up more boxes of food. Delivered the food. It is now 3:30. Like I said, another normal day for Liz and Doug. Oh, did I tell you? This was our day off. We're so pleased and we're so blessed. Thank you, everyone, for your donations. By the way, the veteran that they referred to in the opening part of the paragraph, is a member of the Berks County Patriots. Thank you. Before I conclude, Doug and Liz, stand please, if you would. I know we just did applaud, but they deserve another for all that they've done throughout the years. Thank you both so much. I'm telling you this for two main reasons. The first, we can never fully pay back our debt to our veterans. For the sacrifice they were willing to make, the sacrifice many did make, and the sacrifice many are still making. So I strongly urge you, please consider your support and donations for the veterans. Secondly, Doug and Liz are making a difference. You too can make a difference. Find something that you have a passion about, put time and effort into it to help it succeed. Maybe coming to these meetings, telling friends, bringing friends, helping us out might be one of those things. It multiplies our efforts to make changes, positive changes in our communities. It also allows us to promote those issues that we are trying to move forward. Issues that all of us talk about for many, many times, such as protecting our God-given rights and liberties. Doug and Liz are making a difference. You can make a difference. We can make a difference. Let's do it. Okay, let's see, where do I go from here? I'm jumping around a little bit. Actually, I think I'm going to make some announcements. I want to acknowledge some of the candidates that are in the House. I'm not sure who actually is here. Is Mark Gillen here yet?
Yes.
Where's Mark?
Yes.
Did you just walk in the door? Did you just walk in? Well, Mark is going to be speaking shortly, but I want to acknowledge Mark Gillen. He's a candidate for the, what is it, PA, what is it, 128. Let's see. Who else? What other candidates are here? Who? Oh.
Steve Wolf, delegate, Hartford delegate, convention, London County.
Okay, candidate for Trump in the back. Who else is here? Is mine Donna? Another Trump candidate for Trump delegate.
Donna.
Who else?
And John. Stand up, John.
John for delegate in the 9th Congressional.
Oh, 9th Congressional. Okay, thank you. What's your name again?
John Savage.
Okay, John. Okay. Anybody else? No one else. Okay. Yes, who are you?
Jim Oswald, 126.
Jim Oswald. I got you. PA House 126. Okay, Jim. Anybody else in the house? Yes.
Vince Gagliardo.
Oh, yes, Vince. Hi, Vince. Vince, I think it's your PA House 127.
Yep.
Okay. Is Brandon Moyer here?
He's on his way. He has a meeting.
Okay, fine.
Here in about a half hour.
Okay, hopefully I got everybody that's here.
Also,
Yes.
Annette Baker.
Annette, did you just sneak in too? Annette Baker, what do we got, Annette Baker? PA Senate 11, PA Senate 11. Okay, I think I probably got everybody. I want to acknowledge some other people that are here. One of them is Clay Brees, who is the Berks County GOP Committee Chairman. I understand that they had a record-breaking petition signing performance. Also, Otto Slozer. Otto brings the Lehigh Valley Commentator. He has the new edition, the winter edition. It's poorly, as most of you probably know. Look, take one on your way out. Also, if you want to get, you have something you have some thoughts with, you want to get it off your chest, write it down. Maybe we can put it into an article and send it to Otto. Read this here, and you get some idea of what's in there. Kim Kennedy, are you here? Okay. Got an announcement for PLC, Pennsylvania Leadership Conference, which is Friday, March 27th and Saturday, March 28th. They have great speakers. Several BCP members are going. You can see Rod for more details. It's the Radisson Hotel in Carlisle. It's a gathering, annual gathering of about 700 like-minded conservatives with a host of nationally known speakers as seen on Fox, elected officials, and many other organizations with displays and handouts at the table. So if anyone's interested, please see Rod. Jason Grohl is here. I know he has a table in the back. Second Amendment. It's a sanctuary petition for sanctuary petition for Second Amendment. You can see Jason at his table in the back. One of our sponsors, Ron Rothenberger, actually my insurance agent. Say hi, Ron. And let's see, where are we here? Oath Keepers here? Yeah? Who's over there? Is that Rudy there? Rudy, who's that, Chuck? Sue there? Okay, great. Charlie Gilbert? Charlie Gilbert, folks, will be speaking. He'll be one of our speakers next month. He's going to be speaking about our healthcare system. Also, I was at the Oath Keepers meeting last Sunday. They preempted their normal scheduled presentation and brought in attorney Simon Grill at the last minute. Many of you know Simon. And he gave, I'll use the word outstanding, I'm not sure what the proper word is, presentation on the coronavirus. I don't want to scare anybody. I just want you to know, yes, it's over in China. It's working its way around. Please check, be aware of what's happening around you. See how it's moving to the United States. This could be very serious. Hopefully, we got our people around the world will be able to contain this, but it is spreading. So I want to thank the Oath Keepers for being out in front and getting that out to the public. Actually, they also sent a video which was smuggled out of China. It's about a 4-minute video, 4 or 5-minute video, which is on our website. You would be very surprised what you see there. Okay, let me check my agenda. Tell you what, it's going to be the guy who snuck in at the last minute. Mark Gillen's going to be coming up here and to introduce. Mark Gillen is going to be one of our directors. Helen McMinn, let's all welcome Helen.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. All right. In our society today, we are experiencing the dramatic clash between good and evil. I am specifically talking about the culture of death versus the culture of life. I hope you will agree with me that 47 years of decriminalized abortion is long enough to figure it out. Abortion isn't a solution. It's a deadly problem. We must defend the right to life upon which all other unalienable rights are founded. This responsibility calls us to do everything in our power to protect. Last fall, many of us went to Harrisburg. Anybody else around here went to Harrisburg for the introduction of the heartbeat bill? But we all went up there to Harrisburg to support the introduction of the Heartbeat Bill, which is House Bill 1977. I am proud to say that our own representative, Mark Gillen, stood with other staunch pro-life legislators as a co-sponsor of this bill. We have asked Representative Gillen to speak tonight concerning this bill, where it stands now, and what we as individuals can do to see this legislation become law in the state of Pennsylvania. Representative Gillen, thank you for coming tonight, and God bless you. God bless you, Mark, for standing strong for life. Mark, let's give him a hand.
All right. Do these other microphones work? If I walk around a little bit? You can try it. You can try it? Okay, let's see. All right, I knew this one worked. Just in case I decide to walk around a little bit here, and if I'm not able to walk around, that's okay. Is there a trick to this?
Testing, testing, testing.
Okay. Yeah, there was a trick to it. Flick it on. My daughter, I got really concerned because I said I got to use the restroom. And as soon as I went out, it looked like they were getting ready to introduce me, and she really didn't want to speak. Okay, and so Glory is back. Glory is back there. How many of you have ever met a family or encountered an individual who reported that, you know, before I was born, I was in my mother's womb, and the doctors told my mom this really wasn't going to work out, it wasn't going to look good, and probably the best course of action to take would be to abort this pregnancy. How many of you ever met anybody like that, or encountered anybody, or have a personal story? By the way, somebody's bashful because wives are really good at this, tapping somebody on the shoulder, hey, like, get your hand up. Okay, so there were a few of you out there that didn't put your hand up. Well, I mentioned that I was going to be speaking on a variety of subjects, but principally landing on the issue relative to pro-life, and one of my staff members, I didn't know this, one of my staff members reported to me, because you probably never heard this from me before, but there were 3 different doctors during the course of my mother's pregnancy that recommended aborting me. You know what? She graduated #1 in her high school class. I said, #1? #1, okay? Just an outstanding public servant. Healthy, vibrant, energetic. We hear nothing but positive comments about her from our constituent community. Lois, okay? Probably didn't know that, all right? Someone's very passionate on the life issue. One of our own daughters was reported that had tumors inside of her heart. All right? You know what? Let's leave the life and death decisions to Almighty God. Now, somebody out there probably didn't like what I just said, okay? I'm invoking God. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Okay, and you know why I'm invoking it? You walk up to the Capitol, and I have the pictures back there, and you see emblazoned, all right? And it's a monument, and it says, "In God we trust." And you look to your right, and God's name is mentioned. You haven't even gone up the steps on the State Street side, on the Susquehanna River side of Capitol. You haven't even entered the building. And God's name and divine law are repeated before you enter the Pennsylvania State Capitol. And you say, well, this is a little bit unusual. Elected official and divine law and absolute truth. And Scripture, ladies and gentlemen, life and death issues. Psalm 139. God covered us in our mother's womb. We were fearfully and wonderfully made. And when you get inside of the Capitol Rotunda and you look up, and what do you see? You see God. And go to the second floor, straight up the steps. And you have the Supreme Court chambers. And what do you see over the 10 justices? And by the way, I've got about 75 of these scripture verses in the Capitol booklets. And what do you see? You see the 10 commandments in our state capitol. It's on page 13 of the book back there. Okay, I have veracity for everything. I'll have the pictures back there. Now, why am I approaching this from a spiritual foundation? I have to look pleasant right now. Okay, there. How's that? Okay, because if somebody were running a campaign against it, they would see he's an absolute madman. Well, that's true. Just ask my wife. Okay, but I don't want too many pictures out there. But hold on just a second. All right? Thou shalt not kill. Hey, you don't have a modern civilization, and you don't have a United States of America unless it was founded on absolute truth. And guess what? Our founding fathers understood that. Now, I'm going to have a shameless commercial, and then I'm going to give you a quiz question, because I'm tired of holding this underneath of my arm. Okay? The right of citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. There's no silhouette on here. This is just a target for God-fearing Second Amendment people. Those I've been promising. Who have I been promising for like months? Could you raise your hand? Okay, public apology. All right, I finally got them here. All right, but now I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm sure that many people have some general idea of this, but I want to talk about foundational principles, and then we'll get to the specifics. And then when the congressman walks in the door, I'll just toss in the microphone. All right. What was the occasion that the Liberty Bell, and we could even have the brains over here and get in this, and I have to get my flags out. Okay. I have some flags up here. What was the occasion of the Liberty Bell being cast? All right, young man with the USA Today hat, can you do me a favor? Could you bring that music stand right over here? Okay? All right. I'm just going to gather my papers up here. All right. Now, can anybody tell me what was the occasion of the Liberty Bell being cast? All right, this is a tough question. Anybody know the year the Liberty? See, now I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, okay? Anybody know the year the Liberty Bell was cast? All right, got to raise your hand, class. Yes, ma'am. 1776 is a very good guess because it rang there. All right. Oh, wait a minute. Someone is cheating. We're going to give her a flag anyway. Donna Merritt for delegate. What did you find when you Googled it? 1752. Well, you better re-Google it. I want you to double check that. All right. It was 1751. Is that correct? It was commissioned in 1751. All right. Now, I want Donna to put her phone down, please. Okay? Because, we can't have Donna using her phone and stealing all the flags. Okay? But can anybody tell me what was the anniversary date that was being celebrated, all right, when we cast the Liberty Bell was commissioned to be cast? Now, I'm I'm building a broad foundation here. And I'm going to tell you why. Because my position is not based on what a political party has to say. My position is not based on what a 501c3 thinks about this. My position is not based on the political whim of the day or what happens to be popular. My position is not based on any of those, and yours shouldn't be either. It should be a position that is based on absolute truth. Now, if that is your position, you will be unmovable. You will be steady. It's going to cost you something politically. I had somebody a number of years ago sit down with me. They were interested in running for higher political office. They wanted to talk to my wife and I. And they said to me, I'm going to guess that my position is not the same as yours on life. You know what I said? It doesn't matter if your position is the same as mine on life. What matters is that your position is the same as God's on life. Because He's the creator and He's the author. We were created in the image of God. Now, oh Mark, please save this for Sunday school. No, I'm not saving it for Sunday school. Okay? Okay, Donna gave me permission. Okay, you may blame Donna if you don't like anything else that I said. All right? If your position is based on absolute truth, it's not moving. It's not going anywhere. The culture tilts left, the culture tilts right, the culture goes social. Whatever it happens to do, it's no longer popular. You can't get elected. It doesn't matter. It's not based on what I think or my political movement or my political party. It is based on absolute truth. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It's pretty hard to have liberty if you're not alive. All right. Some people, this is a little strong dose of medicine. They like strong. Donna's still giving me license, okay? As long as she gives me license. But why do I say the things that I've just said? It was the Charter of Privileges in 1701. William Penn is alive. He knows something about spiritual truth. He knows something about absolute truth. Let's get back to the holy experiment, please. Let's not candy coat. Let's not sugarcoat this. William Penn was incarcerated in England for his religious beliefs. We have the Charter of Privileges. Some refer to it as Pennsylvania's first or earliest constitution. I'm going to do something that I almost never do, but I'm going to read 2 paragraphs. I think it's that important before we move forward. And I want you to listen very carefully. The first article of Pennsylvania's Charter of Privileges in 1701. It forms the foundation for where we're going to go in the next couple minutes. Because no people can be truly happy, though under the greatest enjoyment of civil liberties, if abridged of the freedom of their consciences, as to the religious profession and worship, and Almighty God being the only God of conscience, Father of lights and spirits, and the author as well as object of all divine knowledge, faith, and worship, who only doth enlighten the minds and persuade and convince the understanding of people. That is Article 1. And here's the last line, the last 2 lines. And that all persons who also profess to believe in Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world, shall be capable, notwithstanding that other persuasions and practices in point of conscience or religion, to serve this government in any capacity, both legislatively and executively. You're not going to argue with me tonight if you don't think there was a religious foundation to this colony. You won't be arguing with me tonight when you walk up the Capitol, in God we trust, the 10 Commandments, and a booklet back there full of Scripture. Well, you didn't come here to hear a religious message. This isn't a religious message. This is the truth of who we are as a people. And if you don't understand the Charter of Privileges and a seminal document that we have in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, then we need to get regrounded. I graduated from a high school called Pennsbury. Pennsbury Manor was William Penn's plantation at the bend of the Delaware River there, near the falls in the river. I never went there and graduated from high school and left the area and came back and rediscovered. You know what we need to do? We need to rediscover our roots. We need to persuade, not based on, this is what I think you ought to do. There's too much of that on some of these social issues. What would God have you to do on this issue? We tend to launch mortars back and forth. And the positions that I take based on these moral issues, a heartbeat bill. A heartbeat bill. If there's a heart beating, it's alive, and I don't care what it is. It is alive. You go down to Florida, and you start messing with alligator eggs. And I'm not sure why we're protecting alligators that eat people. My daughter and I were looking at this as we were driving over here. You know what? It's a felony. You mess with alligator eggs. It's a felony. And you can go to jail. You know what? The least we can do is protect that beating heart in a womb. Hold up here. We got a bill that's been introduced. We got a bill, unfortunately, it sat a little bit too long for my taste. There's 10 states. Elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. There are 10 states, the last I checked, that got it across the finish line. Signed into law, and the judiciary stepped in and blocked every single one of them. Elections have consequences. Is that my 3 minute? I get the 3-minute warning right across the neck. Okay. And you know what? President of the United States, last I checked, federal judges. Last I checked, Supreme Court. Last time I checked, Commonwealth Court, Superior Court, Supreme Court in Pennsylvania are all statewide elected positions. We came tonight to illumine one another. You've always been a great encouragement to me. But if we are going to get Down syndrome protection, by the way, Pennsylvania doesn't allow abortion based on sex selection, or ladies, guess who would be in trouble typically if you go around the world? You would be. All right? There's a waiting period. And it's appropriate. And I won't get into all the nuances of Pennsylvania law, but there's attempts to peel that back. We had a very articulate Down syndrome gal come to the Capitol Rotunda. And you know what? She was a tremendous encouragement to hear. And I think we ought to be protected, and I don't think we ought to be using genetics to look and say, well, you know, that's the wrong color eye. Well, that is the wrong gender. Or this person's going to be defective. You know, there's a waiting list. It doesn't matter whether it's Down syndrome or not. There's a waiting list for adoption. Let's adopt them out. Let's do it the right way. Let's make sure we properly take care of these young people. I see Sam is starting to move in my direction. Okay. Sam, remember, thou shalt not kill. Murder. Yeah, murder. And let me say this as I close out. I said something in the Capitol Rotunda. This has to do with the new Speaker of the House. We'll be electing a new Speaker of the House. All right? And I was in his office not long before I went out into the rotunda, and he actually, the current speaker, yelled at me. He doesn't see the property tax issue the same way as I do. All right? So later in the rotunda, I said, you know what? We're going to have a new Speaker of the House. And I will not be voting for a new Speaker of the House unless they're willing to advance property tax legislation. And I had a meeting with a good prospect, and he agrees that we need to get it done. All right? I don't want to be thrown off the stage here. Thank you. I got what?
What can we do to help the heartbeat bill move forward?
If you don't see somebody's name on as a co-sponsor, go ahead and give them a call and ask, can we get your name on that bill? And to those that have signed on, and to those that sponsor, do you have any hands? To those that sponsor, all right, we need to see sweat dropped. We need engines. We need passion. We need enthusiasm. We need persistence from our elected officials. And I think there's one person who has a question. At the end of the day, these bills, you know what? When they start to get close, you feel like your time is running out. And when they start to breathe on your neck, you know you're really finished. Okay?
What's the answer?
There's a shadow, and I'm going to answer. There's a shadow that's been cast. And it's been cast from the executive offices. Because you know why? You know why we don't have 20 weeks instead of 24? You know why we don't have Down syndrome legislation? It's not because we didn't pass it. It's because it was vetoed by the governor. Thank you. God bless you. Have a great evening. Thank you so much, Mark.
By the way, folks, and Mark we had a school property tax rally in Harrisburg on February 3rd in the Rotunda, and that's what Mark is talking about. And I want to thank Mark for his support over the years with school property tax elimination. He is one of our strongest supporters. Let's give Mark a great big thank you. Okay, up next, we're going to have Carol Godecki with our Constitution in it. Carol?
Thank you, Sam. Tonight, what I'm going to talk about, I already talked about at the Oath Keepers meeting, so those people have to hear it twice. There's not that many of them, so it's all right. By the way, think about joining the Oath Keepers. We're a good bunch. We really are. I'm talking about the Emoluments Clause. I'm sure you've heard that. They're always accusing President Trump of violating the Emoluments Clause. What does that mean? Emoluments are payment. Payment for what? Could be money, but it could be any kind of payment. A payment is an emolument. You know, our founders were smart people. They had vocabularies like you won't believe. I read I can't think of them. The Federalist Papers. There was a group of us. We read them together. We sat there with a dictionary. And we were all college graduates. We needed a dictionary. But anyway, the Emoluments Clause. The Emoluments Clause simply says it prohibits the president from receiving any emolument from the federal government or the state beyond a compensation for his services as chief executive. Now, What is the problem they accuse him of? They accuse him because he has a hotel in Washington, D.C. He has hotels all over the place, all over the world. You know, our founders thought that we would serve 1 or 2 terms in Washington, and then we would go back to our farm, or our store, or our law firm, or our whatever. Well, you can't go back to your farm if you sell it. You can't go back to your business if you sell it. And so Trump didn't sell his business. He let somebody else run it right now. His children are running it. Okay. But they still always try to get him for having this hotel. They claim, as a matter of fact, it has come to the point where Washington, D.C. and the state of Maryland together have taken him to court because they think his hotel in Washington, D.C. is unfair and it's creating too much competition for the can't think of the word, the convention center. They think this hotel's creating too much competition. Okay, so they took him to court. I am happy to report it went to the 4th Circuit Court of Appeals in Virginia. There are 3 judges on that court. They recently came out with their vote. They voted 3-0 in favor of President Trump. Will they stop there? I don't know. They could appeal it to the Supreme Court, but 3-0 is pretty good. And I think it was correct. I think it was correct. So, you know, he's been taken to court about other things, and they can usually find a judge that will rule against him, but then when he appeals it, in the end, he usually wins. So this is one time he won 3-0, and I'm happy to report that. Thank you. By the way, I'm probably going to start another Constitution class. I've taught the Constitution about 4 or 5 times now. I'll talk about it next month more. I haven't decided when or how or whatever, but it'll be my shorter class. There are 2 classes. One I do that takes a year of 1-month meetings, and one that I do that takes 2 years. I'm going to do the 1-year one, and I'll tell you all about it next month.
Thank you, Carol. Folks, I recommend you do at least one of Carol's courses. Linda and I did both of them. They're fantastic. Okay, up next is one of our directors, Sally Greff. She's going to give us our good feel moment.
Okay, last month I did one on people who help people during a snowstorm. We left here and a blizzard blew through, so we're not going to do snow tonight, okay? But we're going to do something better. This I picked out because it was close to Valentine's Day. We're all old enough here, I think, to know where babies come from, right? Well, wait till this is over, you might have to rethink that. Okay, some babies are delivered under cabbages, and although we all know the stork brings little bundles, there are probably other ways, but I'm not sure of any of those except for my own. Me, I came via a cherry pie. That's right, a cherry pie. As far as I know, I might hold the title for being the most unique way for a baby to arrive. When my mother was a young woman in the late 1930s, her first teaching position began in a one-room school about 30 miles from her parents' home. She took room and board with family since it was not acceptable at that time for single women to live alone. Mother was quite happy with her accommodations because the family was large and 3 of the girls were close to Mother's age. It so happened that one of the girls was keeping company, a term used for dating back then, with a fellow from the neighboring town. This Bo had a younger brother, and he asked the younger one if he wanted to go along one evening while he was going courting. They were going to go to school, which was having a pie supper. In those days, pie suppers tend to be popular events. Their goal was to raise money for the school, but they also doubled as social features. Usually the school children presented a program to coincide with the supper, and that drew even more people. At the pie supper, the men bid on the pies that the ladies had contributed. After a man made his purchase, he got to sit with the lady baker and have a conversation with her as they enjoyed the pie. The men could buy any pie they wanted if they were willing to bid the highest. The highlight of a pie supper was always the teacher's pie. A big fuss was made over her pie. Naturally, the older brother was going to bid on the pie made by the girl he was sweet on. His brother, though, wasn't sparking with anyone at the time, another old term for dating. Younger brother hadn't bid on any pie by the time the teacher's pie came up, and I suppose he was getting hungry. It was announced the teacher's pie was cherry, and that was his favorite. Miss Martha, the teacher, held the pie high in the air. He looked at the teacher and he looked at the pie, and I wonder if his stomach didn't growl just a little bit and his heart got a pity pat. He began to bid. No one there knew him, and the men decided to have some fun running the bids. And it grew higher and higher, but he didn't back down. Probably by that time he was without a doubt showing off a bit, and his determination prevailed. I learned years later that he had an utterly ridiculous amount, that he paid an utterly ridiculous amount for one cherry pie. And that, folks, is how my papa and my mama, serendipitously, at its finest. Through the years, Mama made me a cherry pie. I can remember when I was growing up, Daddy did take that first bite. With a little flirty smile, got a twinkle in his eye and said, "Mighty fine pie, Martha, mighty fine pie." I'm sure it evokes special memories for the both of them of their love story, and that's how I was born of a cherry pie. And can I say one thing, please, Sam? Please don't make me follow Mark anymore. That's terrible.
I know, you're exactly right. Thank you so much. Folks, we're going to do, well, actually before we do, I do want to acknowledge one other person in the house. Here, Eric Weeknight. Hi, Eric. Just, no, you're not talking, just say hi, that's all you need to do. 1 minute. Okay. 1 minute.
Good evening. Just wanted to let you guys know, not sure if you saw in the paper or in the news media that Jinx passed away a week ago. His services are going to be on Monday at 10 o'clock at the Heritage Center, the FOP Memorial. You're all invited to show up. If you can't make it and you want to be along the route, the procession of all the law enforcement cars, we're going from Reading Municipal Stadium up 61, 222 to 183. It'd be great to have you pay your respects. But just wanted to say hi and thank you.
That was well worth it. Thank you, Eric. Folks, we're going to have our raffle. I'm going to turn it over to Joe.
Okay, this raffle, this is the ticket for the AR-15 that we started selling last month. All of those tickets are sold, so is there anyone who did not buy a ticket? You might want to pull the ticket. These are all sold. This is for the AR-15 that we started last month. Hang on. Okay, the winner of the AR-15 is Chuck Beamersdorfer. Chuck Beamersdorfer. There you go, you're the lucky one.
Thank you, Joe. You have to have tickets, so you have his name and great, okay. Congratulations, Chuck. Yeah. Want to say a few words to people?
Thank you very much, and support the Second Amendment. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, folks, we have to juggle things around. Okay. Folks, last month, we had 18-year-old Theo Judson speak. When Theo asked me what he should speak about, I told him, I don't care. I don't care. I didn't care. It was more important to have an 18-year-old up here speaking to let you and me know that there are young folks that are interested in our country like we are, and they're willing to take up the mantle. Theo did a fantastic job. I'm so proud of him. He will be back. Tonight, we have a 14-year-old Bode Brewer. No, I said correct. 14 years old. And I told Bode the same thing I told Theo. Now, I met Bode, Mary Marsardi, I believe she introduced me. There she is in the back, thank you so much. Introduced me to Bode last year. We had several conversations, did some texting. I will tell you folks, he's much more older than 14 years old. 13! Oh my gosh. Well, I also want to thank his mom and dad, Melissa and Ashley, for bringing him tonight and for allowing him to do the presentation. So folks, let's give a big hand. Now, I don't know what he's going to talk about, by the way, and I don't care. Anything he has to say is good by me. So we're going to hear him together. Bode, come on up. By the way, folks, I told some of you a week or two ago, we had a mystery guest. This is the mystery guest.
Thank you for having me. Well, I want to thank Sam, Frank Dora for inviting me here, and I'm delighted to be here. I have to say, this crowd is bigger than a Biden rally, so we're already doing better than they are. Just say that. My name is Bode Brewer. I am 13 years old, and I go to Holy Valley Middle School. I'm in 8th grade. And tonight I'm here to talk to everyone about how important this election is in November. Yes, some people will come up to me and say, well, if President Trump does not get reelected, it's another president, it's another Congress, and it's a different Senate. But this year is different from many other years, and I say the reason it's different is because this year it's capitalism. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's capitalism versus socialism. It's divisiveness versus progress, and it's the present economy versus the past economy. I say to everyone here today, the least anyone can do is vote. Voting is the #1 thing everyone should do. Thank you. But people can also campaign for someone. Hey, I've put signs out, I've handed out flyers. You can campaign for someone. You can go on door knocking, phone calling people. You can do a lot of different things. You can even run for an office. Hey, you don't need to have too much experience. A bartender ran for office. And just say, hey, and another thing that I've heard a lot of people do is, hey, on your way to the polls, you can pick up people, your friends, family. You can pick up people and take them to the polls. We've seen lately, since this amazing president has gotten elected, the Democrats so angry that they do not have control. So angry that they will go to crazy levels. The past 6 months, Democratic congressmen have been, sorry, hold on. The past 6 months, Democratic congressmen have been trying to impeach our president for something that he never did. He just passed, the Congress just passed USMCA. They took credit for it. The Democrats seemed like they were the powerful ones, and they took credit for all of it. When the Republicans in the Senate and the House and President Donald Trump were working on it for many, many months. There are many different things we need to do in this election. One of them is, and some people ask me, well, Berks County is very Republican, and I'm very glad for that, but we have Northampton County, Montgomery County, and Chester County. We need to vote Susan Wild, Chrissy Houlihan, Mary Gay Scanlon, and Madeline Dean out. I've had two experiences lately that prove my point about the craziness these Democrats have been on. A couple days ago, we were off, it was President's Day, and it was a nice sunny day, and we live on Main Street, Ole, PA. It's a nice bicycler route. And my grandparents live 2 doors away from us, and we have our Trump signs out already. And me and my mom were getting ready, our car was parked on the road, and we were getting ready to leave, and we looked down, and this bicycler was coming down and yelling at my grandparents' house. And I heard some of the things he said, and they were not very nice. And we're like, why are they yelling at their house? Well, he was yelling at their Trump sign. Well, little did he know that, and he came up right next to me, he's like, sorry, I was yelling at a Trump sign. Little did he know that we had a Trump sign, and he was coming right, and he was not happy. Another incident that happened on the media is Joy Behar. We all know about Joy Behar. We love The View. She said on The View just a couple days ago that other than Mitt Romney, all Republican senators and congressmen are trash. She said that. Can't believe it. The Democrats have been 19 minutes after our President Trump was elected. The Democratic congressman came up on the podium and said, the campaign to impeach has begun. 19 minutes. That's before he signed any bills. He was still at the Capitol. He was still at the Capitol. 19 minutes. He did nothing. They were so angry that they were in shock they didn't win the election, and the American people voted and the American people chose. So it started with the Russia hoax. They believed that Robert Mueller was this guy that was going to bring out, and Trump was going to be gone. They believed in Trump like they believed in him so much. Well, what did he bring? He came on to his testimony, he was tired, he didn't know what he was saying. He's like, he almost said to everyone, the Democrats wanted me to come here to represent them. I don't have any facts. Done. So that ended, and then fast forward a little bit to the Ukraine hoax. Now this I don't know how our president has dealt with this, because he has gotten just so much hate, hatred. 6 months ago, Nancy Pelosi said, and remember this whole time, Nancy Pelosi was so solemn. She was so sad. We're praying. We are praying for this president. They started the Ukraine hoax. That's what I call it. Start the Ukraine hoax, and 6 months, and then Adam Schiff. Does everyone remember when he came up and lied about the whole phone call? These are just some examples of why we need to flip the House. None of this would have happened if we would have kept the House in 2018. And it ended in the Senate. Thank you. Except we had, in the House, it was completely partisan for impeachment, but bipartisan against impeachment. And in the Senate, it was sad, I hate to say this, but it was bipartisan for impeachment, and that was Mitt Romney. Yeah, we need to flip the House. We really need to flip the House. House and Congress was with him. He's done so many things, but think how many more things he would have done if the House of Representatives was on his side. This is from the Trump campaign. These are all some of his major accomplishments, and no, this is not fake news. President Trump's administration crossed the 100-mile mark with 100 miles of wall built. President Trump is fulfilling his promise to build the border wall with large portions finished or under construction. Since elected, 7.3 million jobs have been created. The administration provided $16 billion in funds to support our farmers against unfair trade retaliation. The United States successfully decimated the ISIS caliphate. And one more, probably one of the most important ones for everyone here tonight. The Trump administration continued deregulation efforts that will save American households an estimated $3,100 per year. This is why we need more people like Dan Meuser. We need more people like Mark Gillen. We need more people like John Emmons that is running the 6th Congressional District to replace Chrissy Houlihan. We need to win big, but we're not going to win big without everyone here. And that's just not everyone here. That's everyone in the United States of America to help us get Trump 4 more years. And to my fellow friends, as the 45th President of the United States would say, the best is yet to come. Thank you.
I want to tell you, folks, was that fantastic? Did you get some one-liners from your mom and dad? Some of those were fantastic. Just stay here 1 second. I know you were a Trump supporter. I happen to have a hat to give you. Folks, this is our future. And Theo, I feel so good that they're going to take up the mantle. We'll be able to sleep at night. Thank you, Bode. Thank you so much. I hope to have you back. I'll say. Okay, up next, we're going to have Congressman Dan Meuser speak. To introduce Dan, we're going to have Donna Merritt. Now, Donna, most of you people should know her. She's everywhere. But I want to tell you something that some of you may have forgotten. Donna was our speaker here 5 years ago. On the Second Amendment, she was a gun-toting mama. She did fantastic. Remember with Dan? Fantastic. Donna, come on up. Big hand for Donna. Thank you, thank you. Where's your daughter, by the way? She's here tonight. Homework. Good mom. Good for you.
Hello, Berks County. How you doing? Sounds great. Awesome sauce. I have had the honor to introduce our next guest. I'm very excited about it. About this time 2 years ago, he was a stranger to most of us in this room. And to be honest, some of us were extremely skeptical about the young man. However, he has proven himself to be the right man for the job. And we have grown to appreciate him very much. Right, Joe Phillips? We're very proud of him. So, with that all said, let me introduce our pro-life, pro-gun, pro-Constitution, pro-America First, my friend and Congressman Dan Meuser.
She's going to make one great delegate, too. Wow, hey, this is great. Thank you all. Absolutely my honor to be here. I certainly want to thank the one and only Sam Brancadora and, well, his better half, shall we say, Linda, for everything that you do. For Berks County, for Pennsylvania, for our country, and for the many, many patriots that make up our county and our country. Hey, I know we got a lot of people from different places outside of Berks County, but I do have to give a real shout out and thank you, sincere thank you to Berks County for the number of petition signatures that we received. 1,200. We only need 1,000 to get on the ballot for the entirety of the district, and we were fortunate enough to get over 3,000. Berks County came through, and then some. So, hey, it's 2020, huh? Are we ready to do it again? Yeah! I know I am, and boy, do we have to. Remember back in 2016? I don't know if you recall, they wrote a book about the 2016 election. They called us the Forgotten. Well, I got news for you. We ain't forgotten no more. Right? They probably should have named the book the Night of Horrors for Hillary Clinton and the national media. 3rd, 2016. But, well, the thing is this. We are going to work together. We are going to re-elect our president. We are going to take back the House. We are going to keep Republicans in the General Assembly. And we are going to continue to keep America great. And I will tell you, folks, how about our president? Right? I mean, not only has he kept his promises, he's worked hard for us, he loves our country, and he's focused on what's best for the most number of Americans possible. Right? I mean, the initiatives of pro-growth, pro-opportunity, and on a world stage where, well, we're respected again. Thanks to our Commander-in-Chief and the great people throughout our military. And let me tell you how important it is as well to win back the House, right? To take back the House. We're down about 19 seats. So that puts Nancy Pelosi in charge. There's really no other way of saying it. Nancy Pelosi is in charge of our House, and she's not exactly bringing a pro-America or pro-growth agenda to the House of Representatives. And it's not just Nancy Pelosi. Now, there are some decent people, certainly, that are Democrats and fell into this very left-wing Democrat Party that exists in Washington, because it's not the same Democrats that necessarily exist here. But once they get there, I have to tell you, most of them vote with Nancy Pelosi 100% of the time. Not 98, not 96, not 94. They're basically forced to vote for her 100% of the time. And they vote with Omar and the rest of the squad 95, 96, 97% of the time. You know, the left wing has become the whole bird. Or, if you don't mind, as I heard our president say, the ass then's become the whole donkey. So, Washington's been pretty interesting. It's been quite a year, quite a 14 months. Because the president runs the White House in a very much of a business manner, and he respects the House, Republicans and Democrats, he invites us over a fair amount and assures that the people who work for him directly, the cabinet, makes themselves available to us. So I've taken a lot of advantage of that. Because if we can't get legislation through that's in your interests, we're going to get federal regulation through. So over the course of the last 14 months, I pretty much met personally, one-on-one, with Ben Carson, related to opportunity zones. He's in charge of opportunity zones. Mike Pompeo on a number of international issues.
Betsy DeVos on education and work training issues. General Milley, of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I met with Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed. Kellyanne Conway, I met with her on stormwater fees, as well as an idea I have for transportation funding, which is the Infrastructure Bank of America, which I think you hopefully can be hearing more about. And so they've all been trying, they've all been working, and they all understand the importance of Pennsylvania as the 6th largest state, or 5th largest state population-wise, 5th largest from a GDP standpoint. And you know, Pennsylvania, we have the 19th largest GDP in the world, so we matter quite a bit. But there's no question that the most interesting time I spend has been with President Trump. He's been phenomenal, and every time I'm in his presence or with him, which has been about 5 or 6 times, has been, well, there's a story to tell. So I'm not going to tell all the stories, but I'll tell one. We were heading out to a natural gas event in Pittsburgh, and I was invited, as were the other members of the Pennsylvania delegation, to fly out with him. And we had a conversation on Air Force One related to the illegal immigration problem. And I mentioned to the president that I was at the border. I took a congressional trip to the border last August. And at the time, beginning of August, there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 120,000 illegals coming across the border a month. And I said, now, Mr. President, with your new team, I said, congratulations on your new team and your new strategic approach, because I understand it's down to 35,000. And he looked at me and he says, it's 35,000 and it'll be fast down to 25,000 and 20,000. I said, you know, great strategy on moving asylum into Mexico and some of the other measures that we're taking, beefing up the Customs Border Patrol, sending down the National Guard, and really putting a lot of forces against the cartels. Because I will tell you something, folks, just to digress for a moment, the cartels are the ones running this thing. And the Customs and Border Patrol down there know it well. They're actually using the people to cross hundreds at a time, just so downriver they can move their drugs across. So this is a bad situation. But the president said that wasn't what lowered it so much. He said what lowered it was this. I formed a very good relationship with the Mexican president, and the Mexican president said to me, we want to stop this. All right, this is not good for anybody, and it's trouble for us, trouble for you. So I have an idea of what we're going to do. We're going to put our military along the border. We're going to patrol the border. So he said, Mr. President, how many troops do you think we should put along the border? And the president said, how many you got? And he said, how about 15,000? And the president said, well, that would be a good start. And so at that point in time, when it started getting reduced, it was because of that, because the Mexican military built a wall, and by the way, Mexico's paying for it. I'll throw this in there just to give you a little bit of the person behind the president. Well, then again, he's the same person at the podium as he is in regular day. But I also had the opportunity to drive back with him in what he calls the Beast, the one you saw going around Daytona 500 on Sunday. And they said, hey, you can ride with the president if you like. And I was walking towards the Beast. And then one of the Secret Service said, no, you can't go. The president needs to make a call. I said, okay. So we're going to go to another car. And all of a sudden I hear behind me, hey, where you going? And around the president. So I jumped in the car with him. And we began talking, and I, for whatever reason, started telling him about my father. My father's a big supporter. My father's a former police officer, and was actually born in Queens, where President Trump was born. And the president says, you know what? Well, your dad sounds like quite a guy. Call him up. Let me say hello. I took my cell phone out, praying my father was going to answer, and he did. And I said, hey, Dad, somebody wants to say hello to you. And he goes, okay. The president says, hey, Stan. I hear my father say, yeah, who's this? President of the United States. So he's really a sincere, hard-working person. And you know what? When he did it for me, he did it for my dad, but when he also heard he was a police officer, I think that's what he wanted to call him and just tell him thank you, as we all thank our men and women in blue and in uniform and those who protect us. So Washington is very much a story of good news and bad news. Now, I'm going to offer you some of the bad news first, but I know Sam doesn't want me speaking up here until midnight. It could take a while. But let's just talk about the policies that they've been trying to introduce and accomplish over the last 14 months. My term in Congress started with them saying there was no border crisis, denying it. There's no border crisis, we don't need a border wall, this is a fabrication of the president, there's really no problem. Well, it turns out there are over 100,000 illegals coming across, and we finally, they shut down the government, did their best to blame it on the president and the Republicans, but it was over about $4 billion in border wall funding, which should have been obviously paid for, because that was the first thing that the Customs and Border Patrol, everyone that I met with, said was needed in the strategically right areas. So that was number one. Number two, the Democrat caucus thought it was a great idea to introduce H.R. 1, which is basically a federal government takeover of the entire election system. So removing the authority of state governments, of local governments, telling you needed to keep your poll stations open for 15 days, including Schumachersville, by the way, Shoemakersville, where I think it has about 80 that show up at the polls for 10 hours a day, along with same-day registration and 2 weeks of absentee allowability. So you can see where they were going. No border, H.R. 1, and then of course the federal government takeover, of healthcare, which is not only enticement but somewhere in the neighborhood of a $20 trillion cost. And if you remember, not only was the Democrat caucus very much interested in doing this, every one of the Democrats that are running for president, right? Remember when that question was asked? They don't ask questions to raise hands anymore. Remember when the Democrat candidates for president were asked whose health care plan would also include illegals? Not only did everyone put their hand up, some of them put up both their hands up. They were just very excited to say, no, I'll do that even more, okay? And guess who pays for that? Guess who pays for that? Everybody in this room. That's right. The Green New Deal, that's largely a sham idea for an economic takeover. The federal government taking over our economy by redoing everything and running it themselves, deciding where your money's going to go, deciding who would be in charge, deciding who they would hire, deciding which businesses would receive this infrastructure, Green New Deal funding. Again, look, you know, from where I come from, and I know where you come from, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it looks like a duck, it's usually a duck. And you know what? That's a socialist agenda that they have laid out. I'll also add this. They pull at every opportunity to infringe upon your right to bear arms, right? Every opportunity. Most appropriations bills that they've done their best to pass out of committee all have clauses that will restrict, for education funding, for instance. Schools would not be able to pay for or hire any personnel whatsoever, no armed guards. No personnel could be paid for using federal education funding for armed guards. Not alone just the idea of training qualified, former military, former police officer teachers, but I mean even former police officers, state troopers who do guard schools. And my son's school, Dallas High School, has one. It's a woman, she's been there for 4 years. We appreciate it. Well, they want to disarm her. And they're doing the same thing on Veterans Affairs. They really did. I mean, I sit on the Veterans Affairs Committee along with the Budget Committee and the Education and Labor Committee. And the Democrats really tried to pull a fast one there too. I mean, it was actually awful. It didn't get done. But they felt that if any veteran had any type of medication even antidepressants, for depression or any sort of non-serious mental illness. I mean, clearly, we don't want anyone who's not fit, sane, and could possibly hurt themselves or somebody else. But in this case, it was anyone with even taking an antidepressant would show up on the NICS background check, and they would be kept from being able to purchase firearms. That's what they're working on. So, not to mention the fact of spending trillions of dollars along the way, right? And the only way to pay for that would be for your taxes to go through the roof. And I don't mean just for the wealthy. I mean, there's no way they could even pay for half of it by even doubling the taxes on the wealthy. It would be everyone. So these are some of the things that we've been fighting off, and some of the strong reasons that we must take back the House. And a House that will work with the President on a plan that is transparent, that you are aware of, you'll be able to vote for, and watch us accomplish. Then how about impeachment? I mean, if there's ever a reason not to trust this Democrat leadership, all right? The socialist policies are one thing, but weaponizing impeachment in the matter that was done, all right? I mean, this thing started, there was no due process, right? I'll debate anybody on this, there was no due process, there was a complete presumption of guilt. There were 17 members of the Judiciary Committee, well before any phone call with the Ukrainian president took place, that signed on for impeachment during the Russia collusion or whatever. The players were highly suspect. By the way, Bode, I didn't really like the idea of having to follow you. You took a lot of my material, too. We didn't share enough. Good stuff. Thank you. But as Bode was saying, Adam Schiff has a real difficult time with the truth, right? And it's recorded. It's not an opinion. 3, 4 different times he deliberately and blatantly misstated the truth in order to get his partners in the media to run with his falsehood. And you know what? They are very much partners. I mean, you know who they are. That show on Sunday mornings this week with George Propagandinopoulos. Remember him? And Morning Joke. You make the mistake of turning that one on. But it's okay. CNN's ratings are now down to their only viewership is the 3 cameramen that are forced to watch the show because they're working that day. And back to impeachment for a moment. How about the lack of evidence, right? There was none. There was no this for that. There was no quid pro quo. The idea that this Democrat House impeached a president with an unbelievably weak case and no evidence is as bad as it gets. As bad as it gets. We've got to win, folks. We've got to win. Here. So, now, you do have to ask yourself a question, though. Since you laughed at my last joke, I'll try this one. Why do they want to impeach the president so bad anyway? I mean, they've got great candidates, don't they? They've got some nice candidates. Right, Ron? I mean, Elizabeth Warren, I mean, she just wants to ban fracking and everywhere that it exists, and it only costs us 500,000, 600,000 jobs in Pennsylvania. Bernie Sanders, I mean, a self-proclaimed socialist, I guess you could say at least he's honest. Pete Buttigieg, I mean, he wants to expand the size of the Supreme Court and, well, other things. And then, of course, Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe. Sleepy. Well, one thing I found about Joe Biden, he's a lot like an onion. The more you peel him back, the more you cry. Feel free to use that one, Bode. It's the only original one. You had some really good ones. So, this is what we got, folks. Now, the good news. And I'm going to be brief on the good news, but the good news, the president. How about that State of the Union? How about the sincerity? How about the people that were there? How about a positive message about keeping and making America as great as it can be for the most number of people possible? That's right. And as Bode ended his speech, the best is yet to come. Right? We haven't heard that since Reagan. Great stuff. The House leadership. You know, I was in business for 25 years. I served as revenue secretary. I'm a pretty critical guy like most of you. But I'm going to tell you that Kevin McCarthy, Steve Scalise, Liz Cheney, and others in the Republican House leadership, Mark Meadows, Jim Jordan. Jim came up here in Berks County, did a fundraiser for myself and for the Berks County Republicans not too long ago. I mean, they are working with the president. They want an agenda, a winning agenda for our country. And if we can get this House leadership in true leadership, we're going to be in great shape. Right. And you know what? Hoorah! How about the Senate? The United States Senate, they came through for us, right? Right. One exception, as Bode pointed out. This economy of ours, 7.3 million jobs since the president was elected, 2 million millennials, every demographic doing better, and wages are up, employment is up, and it is saving money as well. Those that are on the entitlement rolls are down, so it's good stuff. And then there's our military. How proud are we of our military? I mean, the men and women who wear our uniform and have worn our uniform and the things that they do, the sacrifice that they and their families make, you know, it just gives me chills to think of it, and just anything that we can do for our military. And that's why I'm very proud to serve on our Veterans Affairs Committee. And I've made a vow to our vets, I'm going to serve on that committee for as long as you'll have me in Congress. Amen. So. And can I ask, I know we got a lot of military here. Would you mind standing up and letting us salute you? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for giving our country and our people a great opportunity of freedom. Thank you. So folks, that's where we are. Right? The rest is very much up to us. We've got an election coming up. We got to stay united. We must continue to grow as a country, grow our economy, grow jobs, continue to increase wages, create opportunity, so we continue to be that beacon on the hill, that land of opportunity that we're known for. We got to keep that brand going. And there's specific things we need to do. There's work to do. There's great work to do in the 9th Congressional. Revitalization efforts, dealing with the opioid issues that still exist, lowering healthcare costs. So there's a lot for us still to do. And the president's got a plan for healthcare costs that's going to be unveiled soon. And it definitely goes after big pharma. It's definitely about lowering prescription drugs. And it's definitely about keeping pre-existing conditions. Don't let them kid you about that. That's right. Don't let them lie. So, I'll tell you, Bode, well, I'll add this. We need to defeat socialism. That's right. That's where they want to go. But I heard the president said this once, but I'm going to quote Bode. The best is yet to come. Thank you. Thank you, Berks County coaches, very, very much. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you. Fly on. Fly on.
Folks, Dan's going to take a few questions.
Okay, put your hand up if you want to ask Dan a question. There you go, first one up. Here you go.
It's not exactly a question, but I understand your office came in under budget to the tune of like $159,000.
Yes.
Thank you.
12,000 exactly, 11% less than we were allocated.
You don't see that from politicians. Thank you.
Anybody else?
We need the federal government as a whole just to lower it by about 1.5 to 2 points, and we will have a balanced budget within 10 years. It's manageable, it's possible. Re-elect the president, I think we're going to do it.
Dan, question
Yes, sir.
for you. I mentioned something to you earlier this evening. Could you propose something in the House to declare Antifa a terrorist organization?
I'll look into it. I'm almost surprised that hasn't been done already. Certainly, much of what they've done is not in the interests of anyone outside of Antifa. I'm not sure how that gets categorized or defined, but I'll check it out.
It's basically the fighting wing of the pussies in the so-called Democratic Party.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if that's legislative language that I've used, but...
Okay, we're going to have 2 more questions. Here.
I didn't realize this was unfiltered, so watch out. I do have a question for you. It's conclusive that where there was any wrongdoing in Ukraine, it was with Biden. Will that ever come to fruition, do you see?
I understand. Here they are asking for witnesses. Meanwhile, they had 17. They allowed us none in the House. Then they're screaming and yelling about having John Bolton come in. And we say, okay, then we're going to have the Bidens. And you really want to go here, this is what we'll do. And they come out and state, that's off the table. That's off the table. Well, they weren't in charge in the Senate. They were in charge in the House. So it's an outrage. Hunter Biden, while his father was vice president, went to work for Burisma, natural gas company based in the Ukraine. Ukraine at the time was in the top 5 most corrupt countries. And Burisma's CEO is an international arch criminal whose current whereabouts are unknown. But the vice president Biden thought it was a great idea that his son worked for that company and be paid $50,000 to $60,000 to $70,000 a month, whatever it was. So, yeah.
Okay, here you go. This will be the last question.
Okay, with all this talk about eliminating government regulation, needless government regulation, is there any talk of eliminating needless consumer spending regulations, in particular airbags, eliminating that requirement? I got hit by an airbag 20 years ago, and it just hasn't been the same since. Any possible, and as far as I'm concerned, the only people who need them are those who don't belong on the road. Any talk of eliminating that regulation?
Well, government continues to get far bigger than any of our founding fathers intended. The Constitution is there to limit the size of government, not to give them excuses to grow the size of government. You know, when the president came in, he said we were going to eliminate 2 regulations to any 1 that would be added. Well, the truth of the matter is there's been 18 eliminated for every 1 added. So our country is getting a little freer, and the bureaucrats have less control over what we're doing. But it's nowhere near enough. I understand what you're saying, and a lot of it is state-run, not necessarily the example you were using, but state-run. I'll tell you, folks, you know, we're making strides all across America, but some states are making faster strides than us in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We gotta get our acts together here and work on deregulation and lowering taxes and freeing things up so Pennsylvania can be great again for as many Pennsylvanians as possible. But we'll work on getting a new governor after this term.
Yeah, I'm speaking as a former Navy vet. And one thing, we need to get rid of freaking crazy Nancy and all the goddamn Democrats. We need to get rid of Governor Wolf and all the white. And whether it's wrong or whether it's right, the Constitution is the law of the land. We don't go by the law of John. tell you the truth, and I'm sure there are some vets here that would agree with me. And I will live and I will die for this country, and I will stand for this country, and I will stand with any of my brothers and sisters that are here. And if it means my dying to do it, then guess what? I'm in a pine box.
All right.
Thank you for being a great American. Thank you for your service.
Okay, this is actually the last one. He was the last one. Come on, we got him. I can't.
Steve Wolf, also running for delegate.
Thank you, Dan. Hey, one thing we need to work on, we take back the House, we need to expunge President Trump of this BS impeachment.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, I guess
There's a
that's
number of
it.
important reasons, and right there, and expunge. We'll work on it.
Thank you, Dan. That's all the questions.
Thanks, Helen.
Dan, we're going to hold you up there a minute. We have two things we want to do, and if we release you, we won't be able to get them done. Everybody's going to swarm you. So do you mind holding up there a minute?
I don't mind at all.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Hope you don't mind.
Okay.
I got this tie, by the way. My wife made a visit into the White House with my mom. My mother, by the way, was you get one guest at the State of the Union, so my mother was my guest at the State of the Union. They went in the next day to the White House, and they bought this very special tie. But I knew somebody was going to like it, maybe even more than me. So I wore it tonight just to make sure I wouldn't forget it. But if you don't mind, I'm going to take it off and give it to my good friend Sam Brankendorf.
It's definitely going to look better on Dan than me. Dan, thank you so much. Okay. Judy?
Okay, tonight our 50-50 is $145. So we're going to have Bode, our guest tonight, draw the winning number.
We'll have a second one.
524-849. 524-849.
Mary.
And then we have a second, we got to draw a second ticket for the towel holder here, the paper towel holder. Sam Adams paper towel holder.
524-825.
You'd like to, it's yours.
Okay, folks, just two quick things. We're going to close the meeting in a prayer. As I said before, we have BCP shirts in the back, and we also have the campaign signs. One other thing, Linda, where are you? Here. Where's my tie? Here. Here. With Dan's permission, I'm giving this tie to Bode. It will be around, it will be worn a lot longer than the Bode that with me. Thank you so much, Bode. Okay, we're going to close the meeting. Where's our... Okay.
I'm Father Jim Drucker. I'm a Catholic priest, 78 years old. They tell me I look 60, except I had Mass in Philadelphia not too long ago, and they all laughed when I said that, like you just did. So apparently I don't look 60, but I think I do look a little younger. I come from a military family. I've been a priest 42 years this year. My eldest brother, for my brother veterans, was Joseph Edward Drucker. I'm sorry to make this long, but I want to share. He gave his life for us. He's buried at Cambridge Cemetery in England. He was a Tycho there, U.S. Army Air Corps. I was 3 years old, he was 25. My next oldest brother was Paul. He was a submariner. Ended up working for Electric Boat Company. Became executive at third. I never knew this until I drove by one day. The girl said, "Oh, you're a brother to Paul Drucker?" I said, "I'm Jimmy Drucker, Father Jim." She said, "He's the head of chief of manpower." He went from Navy submariner saving 5 men's lives because it was a great swimmer. One submarine was shot down and blown up and he lived. So I come from a military family. I'm very proud to have served during Vietnam, enlisted private one stripe, and went from E3 to O3. We military knows that's strutting around captain bars. I enjoyed that, but I didn't strut them around. I strutted them around if there was strutting in the zone of combat operation in Persian Gulf and Desert Storm. So I give thanks to God for life, and if you would all stand with me, please. And we bow our heads together as whatever faith we are. We ask Heavenly Father that you would bless each of us here and our wonderful country of the United States of America. We ask you to bless our President Trump. Bless these elected officials that came today to give their time. Denny Meuser and also the young man from the state, that he would be blessed as well. You would continue to bless all our politicians, our elected officials, not only here in America, but those men and women of God-loving, caring about you, Lord God in heaven, and what is right on this face of this earth. Bless our military men and women wherever they serve. My nephew just came back. I share with you, he came back with multiple sclerosis, my great nephew, a pup sergeant. Lost his driver's license. He came back for our country, 25 years old, was discouraged. He's now lifted his bootstraps up. He's going to become a psychologist to work for the VA hospital system where I worked for 5 years. So Heavenly Father, bless all our men and women. Bless our country and protect it from evil. And may all men and women be of good faith. And we ask this in God's holy and most precious name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, folks. Drive carefully. See you next month. Dan is going to be here for a while. Mark's here. Your opportunity.